I love collecting these little retro emulation consoles, but even the best ones have issues. So before I go over my favorites, I want to tell you the common problems that you are going to run into. I will never understand how Amazon gets away with selling these things, but for those of you that are looking to experience the same nostalgia that I love experiencing by replaying the games that I grew up with, I do not want you to get annoyed when you end up using these things. I really need to make it clear that none of these are perfect. No matter which one you end up getting, there is always going to be something that you do not like about them or an issue that you're going to have to resolve. The first and most important issue here is people asking which one of these is the best, because yes, this is a huge problem. We are not talking about the medical system or big pharma where companies can price gouge you because you're in pain, marking things up 200%, knowing that you're going to pay it in order to avoid that pain. We are talking about retro gaming consoles with thousands of sellers all competing with one another. Gouging and marking things up into oblivion would not work for stuff like this. It does not work like the medical system, and I know that anybody over 18 years old knows exactly what I am talking about here. Buying a $30 HDMI stick and expecting that to actually work well or last more than a week is what I call, quote unquote, too good to be true. So when people ask me which one of these is the best, I say this with no sarcasm attached to it, so take this as I mean it, not how it sounds. Price matters. Companies price products based on their value. Better hardware is more expensive because it is better and people want bigger, better, nicer things. So whatever your budget is what the best one is. If all you can afford is $100, then that is the best console. If all you can afford is $300, then that is the best console. So when you ask me what the best one is, my answer is always going to be the same because I'm going to tell you what the actual best one is. I'm not going to lie to you or try to sell you some cheap junk product like that $30 HDMI stick, knowing that you're going to buy it because it's what you want to hear. I am into this stuff for nostalgia and memories, not to be frustrated and annoyed by buying a cheap garbage product that irritates me. Now, I know that this is a really long answer and it may come across in a negative way, but there is no other way to put this, and I hope that you respect the honesty here. Imagine asking somebody into cars what the best car is. An honest person is going to tell you what the actual best car is, not the best value car, not the best cheap car, not the best car under $30,000, because you did not ask those questions. You asked, what is the best car, period. So any person not trying to sell you something is going to tell you what the best car is, which is probably a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, Bugatti, Pagani, Koenigsegg, or whatever the actual best car is, not the car that you can afford or want them to tell you so that you end up buying it. They are not going to tell you a Toyota Camry or a Honda Civic, which is what everybody wants to hear, and a salesman knows this. I know this because I ran a successful business and I literally just told you the psychological manipulations that they use on you to sell you stuff. Every console that I have on the list that I am linking in the description below are consoles that I use and recommend myself. The $100 consoles are good for retro gaming up to the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 1. The $300 Kinhank X5 Pro is good for gaming up to the GameCube, Wii, and the PlayStation 2. The $300 Kinhank 12TB hard drive with a $500 mini PC is good for everything up to Xbox, PS3, and the Nintendo Switch. If you want to start upscaling games into 4K, adding shaders, mods, etc., you need a dedicated PC, not a mini PC or a cheap $500 gaming PC. I have a video building the best dedicated emulation PC, which is around $1,000. So to answer that question, what is the best one, is the 12TB Kinhank hard drive with that dedicated PC. That is the honest answer, not the one that you want me to tell you. Again, I apologize for the long response to that question, and if it came across the wrong way, it was not intended to be disrespectful. It was explained in a way for people to actually understand, and it leaves a mark in their mind so that they don't continue to ask that question. So the next problem that you're going to run into here is controller configurations, especially if you want to play two players which these do support. In order to fix this, it is as easy as clicking Settings, Controller Configuration, and selecting your controller. Most of the emulators are going to automatically input your controller, but you may need to manually do it yourself if the emulator is whatever, out of date or something. And in all honesty, man, we live in 2025, which is an era that people can literally just go to Google and search for any question they could possibly have and get the resolution within a matter of 2 seconds, which leads into the next issue, emulators being out of date. This is a really common issue where people try to update these systems without backing up the original files. For me, this is just common sense, but I have been using my PC for work for years now, and I know that not everybody has that habit due to losing files nonstop throughout all of those years. So if you're having an issue with an emulator, updating it can resolve that issue, but always back that file up. And remember its location so that if you do end up updating this thing and it stops working, you can just simply delete the new version and then move the old one back. The next elephant in the room before I go over the consoles that I actually recommend isn't necessarily a question, but it's about duplicates. Now, depending on what you're willing to spend here, duplicates for some of these are not organized into separate playlists. As an example, my favorite out of all of these things is the 12TB Kinhank hard drive. They have organized that incredibly well. Japanese Super Nintendo games are in their own playlist. American Super Nintendo games are in their own playlist. Japanese Sega games are in their own playlist. American Sega games are in their own playlist. You get my point here. And each of these have their own box art from that region with their own description from that region and their own gameplay from that region. Personally, I honestly really like this. The box art is different, some of the games are different, and you get to see how games from different areas actually were. But if you do this with a $100 console, all of these are going to be right beside each other in a single playlist. So you're going to be browsing Super Nintendo games and you're going to see 3 or 4 of the exact same game, all with the exact same box art and the exact same description with the exact same gameplay. Again, I say what I'm about to say here with as much respect as possible, so take this as I mean it, not how it sounds. If you are a person on this planet, in this solar system, in this galaxy, which is inside of this universe, you are not owed anything. So you complaining about something being too expensive is not going to make it cheaper. So you can either understand that things cost more for a reason and just make the money in order to buy the thing that you actually want, or you can continue to whine about not being able to afford something and continue to be miserable. If you are not the type of person that's leaving comments like this on YouTube, then this statement does not apply to you. But if you are this person, I hope you at least become aware that all you are doing is acting like that snobby kid that we all grew up with mommy and daddy buying them everything. And now you're an adult expecting everything to continue to be just handed to you. That is not how the world operates. So now that we went over all the controllers not being configured, the emulators being out of date, what the actual best console is, and the annoying people complaining about things being too expensive, the last issue is lag. None of these lag, including the garbage $30 HDMI stick, which I have tested. The lag from these things come down to your display not having game mode enabled. Even my gaming PC with an RTX 5090 is going to lag on a TV if I do not have that enabled. So if you're running into lag problems, you need to either buy a gaming monitor or you can enable the game mode on your TV, which I'm guessing most people here are using these things on an actual TV. So now for the actual best consoles that I recommend for all of you. I ended up putting a list together for people rather than linking individual consoles because Amazon is always removing these things for reasons I doubt I need to explain, on top of them always selling out because people actually want these. The fact that we're even able to buy these retro game consoles on Amazon preloaded with thousands of games, again, blows me away. But they do get removed because of this, and I created that list with a bunch of them from different sellers due to this issue that we run into. So if you're seeing 10 or 15 Kinhank X5 Pro consoles or 5 to 10 12TB Kinhank hard drives, they are all the exact same thing, just from different sellers. Again, I do this so that if one of them is removed, there is at least another option for you. Each of the mini PCs on the list are there for people looking to grab the 12 terabyte Kinhang card drive and set that up, which we do have videos on doing and showing you how to actually set this thing up alongside scanning it for malware and viruses so that you can see there's nothing to really worry about here, at least if you do not install the PC games, which I don't do. I'm not into the whatever. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole there. And then lastly, there is the dedicated emulation PC, which we do have a video building with the 7600X and the RTX 5060. Or you can just search on Amazon for a PC with a 4060 or a 5060. Just note that if you do not build it yourself, you are going to pay a $500 to $1,000 premium because that seller has to make up for Amazon's 20% fee just to sell the product on Amazon. Then that company has to pay their employees, and they also have to pay for the warehouse's rent in order to store these things that they are selling on Amazon. So going back to what I said about you being you are not owed anything, man. People price things the way that they do for a reason when it comes down to this stuff. Again, going back to the example that I used at the beginning of this video, man, this is not the medical system and this is not big pharma. Companies like that, doctors' offices like that, they're able to mark things up into oblivion and charge you outrageous fees because they know you kind of require in order to pay that, and they know that you will pay that because of whatever. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. So I say all of this stuff with as much respect as possible, dude. I just wanted to answer these questions that people have in a way that actually leaves a mark. So yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one.